You ever been manually mining in your world and you just run out of the beacon range of the beacon that you have up there and always wanted to, not have to rebuild the beacon and then you can move it down and place it on top of where you're mining again? What if I told you that there was an easier way to do that with this movable beacon structure that I have that also goes down as well as up? Two different versions. They are both accomplishing the same task, just in opposite directions. They are a bit expensive on the observer side, but you'll never have to rebuild a beacon again if you have to move it down or up. So, of course, with these things, the beacon block itself is not movable, and the only thing you have to do is remove the beacon. And then the only thing you have to do to remove the downwards one is to remove the beacon and replace the honey block here. That way the full structure gets moved down. If we didn't have this here, we would have to rebuild the full middle slot here, but we don't need to do that at all. So now that we have the beacon structure removed, we'll fly up top here, and you'll just stand on top of this note block. This one is pretty much spam proof. It can break if you click it too fast and it doesn't move down fully. But it can't break badly. The only thing that will happen is these pistons will just get stuck on top of here. All you need to do is update this observer here and then fix the slime structure with this slime and piston back down to where it is right now. It will be up in the air. And then just you're good to go at that point. It can't break drastically. So we're going to click that note block here. You're going to see the full beacon structure gets moved down by a single block. All we're doing is just manual flying machine here. Pushes down these observers, extends all of these pistons, which then extend the observers and the pistons to then do the same thing here, which then all at the same time will push all of these down, all these observers and pistons and slime blocks and honey blocks, which will then push all of the beacon base down at once. And we have this glass here around the beacon just so that it makes the piston layout a lot easier to control and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to hold down the left click right now, and we'll see just how fast we can move this beacon base down. And just like that, we have the beacon base a lot lower down, and we can place the beacon back in here. Remove the center honey block. Place the beacon. You'll see it goes right through the machine because there is no pistons or observers obstructing its way. So we don't gotta rebuild anything to activate the beacon. And then we could continue with our manual mining down here, as we now will have the haste effect. Well, I didn't activate the beacons, that'll also affect that. But yeah, overall, it's not the worst thing to build if you don't have, all these upwards facing observers. Those are pretty easy to do, even though these all in here have them. But it is possible and very worth it in the end, especially if you're doing a huge manual mining scale and you don't want to go all the way down to the bottom every single time to make a beacon. We all know that beacons go up infinitely, so the smart thing would be to just place the beacon all the way down to the bottom of the world. But if you have ever done a manual mining project before, you know that's the longest and most annoying part of it, is to set up all the beacons all the way down to the bottom, because most of the time you're not going to have haste because we don't have haste potions. So you can't just, always reach the bottom of the world with the beacon from the surface. This is where this one will be very, very useful for sure. I don't see many people using the vertical one. We did need something like this for our project we're currently working on the AutoCraft server. That's just because the project we're making is just so wide and tall that we can't place beacons on the outside of the project. So we needed something that could be placed on top, but also to make it move up. That way we don't have to keep rebuilding the grid layout every single time when we're ready to work on the next layer above. So like I said, with the downwards one, we also have one for the vertical. That's one right here. Same thing, it can't break drastically. It'll just break with the pistons not pushing up, which you can just activate by these two observers here. And then when we click this, the whole beacon base will just start to move up. This one you can occasionally fall through. If you wanted, you could replace some of this stuff with honey. I think you have to replace the bottom bit here. So if you didn't want this, you can't replace this with honey, as this needs to be solid blocks to power the observers or the pistons. You could replace this one down here with honey like that. If you wanted to stick on the honey and get pulled up like that, you could also do that. And that would also make it pretty much spam proof, because you get moved up at last. And once you get moved up, you can then click the note block again, and you're good to go there. So like I said, this is a very niche thing to do. I was contemplating working on ones that all go, you know, sideways as well. But there's already way better ones than I could ever make that I will link in the description down below if you wanted to use one of those. I needed to move a beacon that way for some reason. That would also be nice to have. You can see my failed attempts over there of tiling this and all that kind of stuff, but we got it to work in the end. It was the vertical one, or the downwards one was the more annoying one, as I had to, you know, work around the beacon. Whereas the vertical one, everything's handled below, so I don't gotta worry about blocking the beacon beam. These are by no means the best designs out there, but they are simple to understand and get the job done. I am not great at slimestone whatsoever. This was a fun project to try to design myself and just, you know, work around some various situations we needed to. I will show you, I will log into the AutoCraft server and show you what we're working on that we actually needed this vertical one up here. So as you can see here on the server, we are currently making a max range cactus farm, and we can't obviously make beacons on the side here because the middle bit would be pretty much, you know, uncoverable without having a beacon on top. So we could have obviously, you know, done a little bit less of these and have them like more beacons on the outside. I'd only have a few movable structures, but at the same time, it's a lot easier to just make them in the center here and then move them all up at once. This is the version 1 where it is a bit more of a worse wiring down here, as well as the engine itself for the manual note blocks. So unfortunately, this one is why I also wanted to redesign the vertical one after I figured out the downward one. I had extra observers here that I didn't need at all, as well as the slime blocks and honey blocks and all that kind of stuff, as well as this been done a little bit better, which I did do in the end, as well as changing this little section over here, but it does work a lot better. This one can be prone to clicking the note block too fast and breaking the full structure itself. But this allows us here to have a full speed 2 across this full area that we're building here for the cactus farm. Otherwise, we would need a bunch of beacons on the outside and still need a couple in the middle as well. To have speed 2. Obviously, this is making this project go a lot faster with the speed. It as well allows us to do a little bit other stuff we couldn't actually do without the speed, like walking over the block gaps here. We can do that with speed 2, walking straight over it. And overall, just decrease the time that we have needed to make this farm here. This will be an upcoming episode on the server if you wanted to keep up to date with that. So, of course, if you wanted to get your hands on these schematics, they will be linked in the AutoCraft Discord, which is down in the description box below. I will have the both vertical and downward ones linked there. I assume the downward one's going to have a lot more downloads than the vertical, as it has a very limited use case with this one, as the other one I guess I can use for manual mining project all the time. And I will of course change this to honey blocks in the final schematic if you wanted to do that, which will be a lot better than the slime one overall. But if anybody wants to ever, you know, try to take this and make it a better wiring scheme, I definitely am open for that. Like I said, it was not the best thing possible, something fun that I wanted to design over, you know, a couple of nights or whatnot. Got it together, work in the end, so that's all that really matters. If you have any questions, you can always ask in the AutoCraft server and I can definitely help you out. But until then, I will be using these beacons in my own various ways, and I hope you do as well. Make sure you like, subscribe, all sorts of things, and I'll see you in the next one.